Hello, welcome to ACE 2021. My name is Zoë Harries. I'm Project Director with World FZO's organization based in Dubai. The World FZO's organization is delighted to announce the recent launch of its advisory services. We offer advisory services to governments, free zone authorities, and free zones and its stakeholders. So why work with the World FZO's organization? Well, the World FZO's organization is a center of excellence. We have the resources, the network, and the specialized knowledge, and the experience to support you in achieving your goals. Global experts are personally involved in leading and executing the projects. We are a not-for-profit organization which allows us to offer our services at a very competitive price rate. The services we offer go across all stages of free zone development. So from the moment that a country will decide to launch free zones, we start supporting governments in regulatory framework design, from right across the board until the full development of the zone has been completed and is being continued. So to break that down, we offer regulatory framework design services as well as regulatory framework review services. So what we do is look at, first of all, what are the objectives? What are the objectives that governments want to achieve with the launch or the further development of their special economic zones or free zones. And we will review the regulatory framework as how it is conducive to attract investment through the zones into the country. And first of all, we provide a benchmarking study looking at best practices globally relevant to the context of the country. And then furthermore, we will look at the gap, what is to be achieved and where do we stand right now. And based upon that, we will make our recommendations as how to update or design the law in order to create a favorable environment to develop free zones, enabling them on the one hand to attract foreign direct investment and on the other hand allowing them to support small medium-sized enterprises and bridge the gap between the large multinational players and local small and medium-sized enterprises. So fostering sustainable economic growth and prosperity for all. So the second service we offer is benchmarking best practices globally and regionally. So whether it's benchmarking regulatory frameworks, benchmarking services, incentives, benchmarking different free zone models. So looking at, for instance, digital free zones, logistics, trade and logistics free zones, high-tech parks. More and more, we're looking also at smart city models for free zones. We can look at global best practices. What are they doing? What are the success factors, the key success factors to enable to develop a park which is going to be successful in terms of attracting investment and also being able to make a positive contribution to the host country's GDP. Because of our existing network of members and stakeholders, we can actually mine a lot of information which is relevant to best practice benchmarking analysis. So allowing us to share experiences and expertise which is up to date and across the globe, so relevant either to a certain geography or a certain sector. The third service which we are offering is enhancing competitiveness of the free zone, and we do that through value proposition development as well as positioning. So what we look at for the value proposition development is we use a benchmarking model as a foundation. Based on that, we will develop a SWOT analysis. What are the strengths and the weaknesses of your free zone proposition or location? Also looking at diverse sectors and looking at what your objectives are. From that, we will determine what are the strengths, what are the best sectors to focus on, where we're going to find investors in those areas. So also geographic targeting, and this will allow us to position our free zone regionally and globally, and ensuring enhanced competitiveness in the ability of attracting foreign direct investment. The next service which we are offering is pre-feasibility studies or feasibility studies, as well as business modeling. So we can offer expert advice on the best operational models and business models for free zones. So whether it's a private free zone or public free zone or PPP model, we can advise on different operations and ownership models, or management and ownership models, as well as also developing sectors and clusters, ecosystems, advising on the full range of the supply chain, and also on the infrastructure requirements going with that. So whether it's the digital infrastructure, or the physical infrastructure, and how this business model needs to come together in order to be competitive. Then we also offer a strategic planning and management and operations advice. So in our pool of experts, we have the top executives who led the global #1 free zones, and they will be able to provide advice on best practices in operational models. We bring together strategy advisors, operational advisors, and all the aspects within that framework. So looking from strategic planning, aligning business development, as well as the master planning of the zone. Furthermore, the digital strategy, the marketing and lead generation strategy, the customer relations or the investor relations, as well as aftercare services. Then we offer investment attraction services, including marketing as well as lead generation. So also based on our benchmarking models, we will look at how we can best target which sectors and which investors. We can go so far as to make investor profiles, also looking at what, especially for new zones, what anchor investors do we want to attract and build new clusters around. Furthermore, also making a geographic selection. If we have multiple sectors which we are hosting in the zone, these will also be different geographies per sector, because if we're looking for IT companies or for life sciences companies or for automotive manufacturers, we might be looking at different geographies where we would be more competitive and where we want to attract investment from. So we do research on what would be the best practice there, also leveraging free trade agreements and reviewing the incentives packages, and then putting together the value proposition and designing a strategy, how we're going to reach these investors, in what time frame do we want to achieve which amount of investments. So we're going to also set KPIs in terms of job creation, capital expenditure of the landed investments, put together a roadmap, so defining relevant events which we need to take part in or host ourselves, as well as organizing business missions, site visits, who are our multipliers who, in our network, who we're going to start engaging with, and putting together meeting agendas. There's going to be a combination of digital marketing, capturing leads digitally, and then qualifying the leads. And with the qualified leads, we're going to, on a personal level, continue engaging with these potential investors and finally bringing them over for a site visit, and then hopefully followed by a landed investment. Then furthermore, we offer stakeholder relations and investor services support, so we can do recommendations on how to develop a successful stakeholder engagement plan, as well as investor services. So not only attracting new investment into the zone, but also looking at how we keep our current companies happy within the zone. So this can be through services we are offering, and a regular engagement with our investors, like what we've seen last year during COVID. With that level of disruption, we have to fully engage with our community and see what is needed. How can we support as a free zone? And the World FZO organization can learn from, well, share experiences from our network with the other zones and make recommendations as how to retain your current investors, because it's easier to retain investors already in your zone and to nurture them and allow them to grow than to attract new investment. And this is a point which is often overlooked, and we are very well equipped to support in that area. Furthermore, we offer digital transformation and sustainability advisory. So we can share best practices on digital free zones, which is a new emerging form of zone, fairly new, but we are very much engaged with these zones and can share knowledge and experiences there, as well as looking at aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals, ESG standards, and we've developed business models for eco-industrial parks, as well as looking at creating industrial symbiosis within the parks. So the one company's waste is the other company's resource, and that's not only on the materials level, but that's also on the energy level. Renewable energy is a very interesting area to invest in right now. And this we bring together also in our sustainable free zone business model. And furthermore, we have a certification program which was recently launched, Safe, Green and Smart Zone, which is integrated into our digital transformation and sustainability advisory. And further information will follow during the conference on our certification programs. And then last but not least, we also offer cost-benefit models, mainly to governments or to free zones authorities, on looking how the zones are performing in a given country. So how many jobs are they actually creating? What are their contribution to the GDP of the country? What are they contributing to exports? So a very important assessment of the free zone proposition of a country. So that is an area in which we have a group of experts who have done many such projects. Here follows an example of the signature benchmark reports which we provide. So on the right-hand side, you will see some screenshots of recent benchmark reports or studies which we performed for a client. What we do is, on the one hand, at the last slide, you will see an overview of an Excel spreadsheet. So we provide a report in Excel as well as a PowerPoint copy which enables you to present to your board or to your stakeholders. The benchmark reports, they're very much focused on a specific sector or certain areas, looking for improvement within the zone. So what we do together with our clients is to select the criteria or the parameters in which we want to enhance competitiveness. And then based on that, we will go globally looking into best practices and making a final shortlist of best practices which are relevant to the client's requirement. And based on that, we can perform a gap analysis, looking what they are looking to achieve and learning from the other zones who have succeeded in these key areas and make recommendations based on that. And what positions the World FZO organization exceptionally well in providing these benchmark exercises is because we are the largest free zones association worldwide, with over 800 members in over 140 countries, with 11 regional offices, 41 national contact points, and 6 brand ambassadors. So what we can do is tap into the network with specific questions which we have based upon the client's requirements. But on the other hand, we are constantly being furnished with up-to-date information on the whole universe of free zones globally. So we know we are up to date with what is happening, what is developing, and we're very well equipped to identify trends and identify innovative services and solutions within the free zone ecosystem globally. Furthermore, we are particularly strongly positioned to offer lead generation services. Also with our global network of experts in lead generation, with offices covering all continents and multiple countries within these continents. We are very well positioned to provide an analysis and a strategy. So looking at constantly speaking with companies, knowing what their expansion strategies are. So not only on the governmental and on the free zone side we are working, but we're constantly having dialogues with the industry players who are ultimately the clients of the free zones or the investors into the free zones. So it's very important to stay up to date with the companies who are in contact with our ecosystem of regional and national experts in the field of lead generation. And we are able to pick up on trends immediately, also which we saw last year during the disruption. What are companies looking for? What's happening with their supply chains? Which areas are they looking to look into? What support do they need? What does a zone need to offer them in terms of services, of infrastructure requirements, especially with digitalization, e-commerce, what happened there, and what are companies looking for? There's, for instance, less need for office space, but there's more need for cold warehousing, and we can tap into these needs and trends very quickly. So also for zones to consult with us, and also looking at what are specific companies looking for or what are specific sectors looking for, we can tap into our company network and at a later stage also speak with them regarding the zones. We get a lot of questions from our company network with supply chain related questions, like which zone can we best locate in, which is supportive for our business model. We see a lot of companies now diversifying their supply chain, creating more resilience, so looking maybe at multiple hubs to operate from. So we're also active with with the supply chain optimization projects, which also allows us better to provide advice to the zones regarding what the companies are seeking, what their requirements are. We pride ourselves in working with the global top experts in the field of special economic zones or free zones advisory. And we have a network of expert advisors who are ready to be engaged at any given moment. We have a multidisciplinary team of key experts. So there's either a specific technical expertise, which they excel in, or geographical expertise, or a combination of the two. So we have experts across all areas of expertise, as well as all geographic areas globally. And our experts will typically have between 15 and 40 years of industry experience. A global expert advisory team includes, but is not limited to, Dr. Samir Hamrouni, our CEO at the World FZO organization, having a wealth of experience in developing free zones in the UAE, such as Jafsa, Dubai Silicon Oasis, Dubai Auto Zone, and Technopark. Dr. Mohan Gurushwamy, our Chief Knowledge Officer at the World FZO organization, is specialized in strategy and operations, supply chain management, and governance of free zones. There we have me, Zoë Harries, and I specialize in free zone business modeling and competitiveness, so value proposition and positioning. Krista Fox, she led the global #1 free zone, the DMCC in Dubai. She's an expert in strategy and transformation of free zones. And she's a highly sought after international expert in this field. Martini Barra, he is specialized in business modeling and legal regulatory frameworks. Martini Barra leads his own consulting firm in Colombia, in Latin America, and has a wealth of experience in international trade and investment, free zone business modeling, and is also a legal expert in this field. He worked with many, many governments and zones, especially in the Latin America and Caribbean area, but not limited to, so globally as well. He's done a lot of work in China and in Africa, for instance, and many more countries. Dr. Andreas Baumgartner, also based in Dubai, with a lot of GCC expertise. He is specialized in free zone strategy, positioning, and setting up free zones, so also launching new free zones. He also is very knowledgeable about dispute resolution and arbitration, having worked as an executive director at the Dispute Resolution and Arbitration Authority at DIFC in Dubai. Now follows recent projects which we have worked on, to give you an impression. Recently, we supported the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with the launch of their special economic zones. So within the vision, Saudi Vision 2030, the objective was to launch special economic zones, which has been accelerated by the pandemic, which we experienced last year. So they were in a rush to get up and operational with the zones and asked our help. So we helped the Economic Cities and Zones Authority, which is the SEZ authority of the government of Saudi Arabia. First of all, helping them design their regulatory framework. So we provided them with a benchmark of best practices globally, matching their objectives, what they were looking at achieving with the special economic zones, and how we would fit the SEZ law into the regulatory framework. Furthermore, we looked at the company law, so within the zones, within the regulatory framework, what would be best practice company law, enabling the zone to attract and build new sectors. So the zones in Saudi Arabia are sector focused, so we're looking at very specific laws of incorporation. And furthermore, we had ongoing support engagement with EXA regarding setting up bilateral meetings, providing ongoing benchmarks and reports, providing them with very specific information on best practices in the GCC region as well as globally, also on new forms of zones like tourism zones, digital zones, virtual zones, which was a very exciting project to work on. And currently the Kingdom is launching the zone, so the approvals, the licenses are being approved right now. Furthermore, as mentioned, our free zone strategy and transformation expert, Krista Fox, she led the #1 award-winning free zone globally, the DMCC, and her role there was to redefine the growth strategy of the DMCC, to also increase customer satisfaction. So through their transformation strategy, they increased their customer satisfaction to 92%. Furthermore, she also led the digital transformation of the zone between 2012 and 2019. The zone is currently considered a global best practice in terms of digitalization as well. A recent project we provided was in the Pskov region of Russia, a remote region in the northwest of Russia, a newly developed zone with the basic infrastructure in place. They reached out to us regarding support to attract investors into the zone. So we developed a strategy together with management of Moglino to attract investment to the zone. So we defined the target sectors as well as the target geographies. We initiated a digital as well as an outreach campaign and captured leads, qualified the leads, and provided them with qualified leads to be able to successfully attract them into the zone. The whole project was challenged by COVID-19, and we're very proud that we succeeded in attracting investors into the zone over the months during the pandemic without any site visits possible. Furthermore, another recent project was for the Icelandic government. The National Power Company of Iceland, Landsvirkjun, asked us to design a business model based on industrial symbiosis, so an eco-industrial park, looking to diversify their client portfolio and with or without a free zone framework around the park. So we developed two scenarios: a free zone allowing a more favorable environment to attract foreign direct investment, and on the other hand, building the model for an eco-industrial park. And this was a very interesting exercise because there was no definition of sectors yet. So what we did is we went in, first looked at the Icelandic context, made a SWOT analysis of all sectors present in Iceland. We found that best was to model the park based on the strongest developed sectors in Iceland. So what we chose were the fishing, the agricultural and fishing industries in Iceland, contributing 40% to the gross national product, as well as the aluminium smelting industry, which was a bit of a contradiction together with the industrial symbiosis. And also having the challenge of, on the one hand, creating industrial symbiosis, so less need for energy, and on the other hand, making sure that the client was happy with the diversification of their portfolio, meeting the minimum requirements of the power supply. So there were certain requirements for the PPAs, the power purchase agreements. Very exciting exercise. So we successfully identified sectors to attract to the park within the supply chain of the fishing industry, as well as looking at the most suitable locations, looking at deep sea ports, and with or without the aluminium smelting facility on the premises as well, and with or without the free zone framework. And we came up with recommendations for the government, and they are actually taking the project further right now because they were very interested in the outcome of our feasibility study as well as business model. Furthermore, we supported our client in Panama, Panama Investment Partners Group. We, on the one hand, helped our clients set up a company, a joint stock company, which was representing a group of private sector players in Panama who had a stake in the further development of the free zones. We performed different business cases, or we explored different business cases looking at what Panama was best positioned to do in terms of adding value in the country, in the zones, leveraging the multimodal position of Panama, so the canal on the one hand, so the connectivity with China, as well as the Europe and the UAE, as well as with the US. And furthermore, also looking at Copa Airlines having their hub at Panama City for the air traffic. So we pulled everything together, also taking into account free trade agreements, came up with two successful business models, which are actually being executed right now, and also supported negotiations regarding a free trade agreement between Panama and the UAE. Furthermore, our same client at the same time, in parallel, launched a digital free zone, the first digital free zone in the Americas, called BPO's Panama, which couldn't have been better timing with the pandemic going on last year. So it's host to a large data center and e-commerce activities, and we supported with the setup of this free zone as well. And we are constantly supporting this client still with his huge efforts in Latin America. Another project we were involved in was in a Latin American country, reviewing also their location value proposition and looking how to enhance their service offerings, so innovation in services. Free zones now more and more realize that the incentives package is not enough to be competitive. we have to see what is the infrastructure which is required to attract investment. So both the digital infrastructure as well as the physical infrastructure, as well as what services are we offering our clients, and do they actually match what the needs of the clients are. So during that project, we also spent 4 days on site and conducted stakeholder interviews with the resident companies within the free zone to see what their needs and their requirements were, and how the free zone could enhance their offering to the investors. Furthermore, we conducted a pre-feasibility study for a country, a pre-feasibility study for an airport-free zone in a Central Asian country. Also looking at flight connectivity, major hubs in the region, and how they could develop a viable business case and become competitive as an airport-free zone in the location as given. And we presented our recommendations to the Minister of Economy and the Minister of Finance. Furthermore, regarding legislation design and international benchmarking exercises, we, for instance, in Argentina drafted the law of the free zone regime. We've helped Vietnam also with the development of their special economic zone law. Peru, also the drafting of the law. So we work with a reputable law firm specializing in law drafting. You can execute the drafting part of a project. Chile, Mexico, Congo, as well as Colombia. We've worked in the benchmarking space as well as regulatory design space. The last slide comprises an overview of clients and partners who we work with. So for instance, DP World, but also media partners like FDI Magazine, Financial Times publication. We work with corporates such as Airbus, Emirates. We work with zones such as Zona Franca, Bogota, Tanger Med zones in Morocco. All best practices. We're located at Dubai Airport Free Zone. We are part of the ecosystem of Dubai Airport Free Zone, and we work very closely as well with multilateral organizations like UN agencies like UNCTAD and UPU, Postal Services, ILO, International Labour Organization. We have a close relationship with the OECD. Furthermore, we work with development banks like Islamic Development Bank, Badia, African Development Bank, World Bank. So we have relations globally with governments, free zone authorities, free zones, companies, multilateral organizations, as well as development banks, and also private financial institutions. I thank you all for your attention today, and we would be delighted to hear from you how we can help you and your zone perform at its optimum level. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your kind attention, and we are ready for all your inquiries, and we wish you a very pleasant rest of World Free Zones Organization Annual Conference, ACE 2021. Thank you very much.